Before we went into lockdown, I actually delivered a session with one group on how to create and use harmonies, vocal harmonies. I'm not actually going to deliver this to you guys now because I want everyone to be taught the same thing on the same week, but I'm going to post this up and hopefully that will kind of fill into the gaps to those groups that didn't receive that lesson. Okay, so this is a video tutorial on how to create melodic harmonies, okay, or vocal harmonies is what I'm going to call them. That's predominantly what this is used for, but you can use the same technique to basically harmonize any melodic content. Okay, so a good kind of example would be kind of 80s heavy metal bands like Iron Maiden and Judas Priest used to kind of harmonize their guitar lines. Same technique that you would do with vocal harmonies, but it's on a guitar. Okay, so whereas a few weeks ago we looked at how to kind of build a string part out of a chord sequence, this is kind of a different thing. This is how to create chords essentially from a melody and how to kind of work with that. Okay, so first things first, you can harmonize in any which way you want. This is something that is kind of bespoke to you, but the techniques I'm going to show you today work every time and are a little bit more kind of robust and you know, it's a good place to start. I'm not saying this is the only way to harmonize melodies, so you know, please don't take this as gospel, but if you're looking to make harmonies, 99 times out of 100 these techniques will work for you. Okay, so let's look at how this is going to work. Okay, so first things first, we've got ourselves a note. Let's say that's our melody. Okay, I'm gonna build this up, but let's just start with one note. Okay, our chord is a C and our melody is singing a C over the top. Okay, sounds delicious, sounds like this. Nearest, damn it, my pitching isn't perfect. Anyway, we have our melodic line doing that. We want to kind of build up an extra layer over the top of it. Okay, I'm going to look at 4 harmonies in particular, or 4 possible harmonies you can choose, i.e. the 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Again, there are others, but these ones seem to be the main kind of ones you want to use. Okay, I'm going to skip the 3rd for now, and you'll understand why in a second. I'm just going to look at the 4th and the 5th first of all. Okay, so what do I mean by 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th? First of all, let's tackle that. Basically what I'm talking about are scale degrees, notes within our scale. So here's my little piano. If I want to harmonize that note, I want to a 4th, I mean the 4th note of my scale. Okay, so if that's a C, D, E, F, I am going to harmonize my C that I'm singing in my melody like this with an F. Okay, and really that's as simple as it is. Every time my note changes, so let's say my melody goes, actually let's make it a little bit nicer than that. Let's say we're going, I'm gonna harmonize to a 4th. That's C, I'm gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 semitones. Then I went up to an E, so my melody went my next note, so that's the F, and the next one, which is the E, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So my melody now goes. Okay, my C seems to be stuck. Why is that? Go away. And that's basically how that works. If you just count up those 5 semitones, we get this. Okay. That sounds kind of nice and it sounds kind of good. I've got a better example so you can hear it in a longer context. So this is a bit of Freddie Mercury for you. So here's the lead line.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
Okay, this is it harmonized to a 4th, so that's that exact same melody, and I've just pitch shifted it up 5 semitones, okay, and this is what it sounds like.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
And that sounds super cool, okay, so we've got ourselves harmonizing to a 4th, okay. A slight disclaimer on harmonizing to a 4th, and I'm going to show you now, okay? So let's just say we've got our harmony to a fourth, okay, but we're playing a chord underneath. So this is a C major chord that I've got going on here, which you can just kind of see there, okay. So let's bring that into the mix and play those together. We've got a slight clash going on. Okay, the clash we've got is, our chord is a C major chord, which is those three notes there, okay, but we're harmonizing to a fourth, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is that note there. So we're actually getting this chord with this note in the middle. And that's creating quite a clash because we've got these two notes next to each other. Okay, it's not a terrible thing, and it can be used to kind of great musical acclaim and success if you use it correctly. But it's just something to highlight that if you are harmonizing to a fourth and doing that over a major chord, it's gonna have this slight clash to it, okay? Do it over a minor chord, and it actually sounds quite nice because we've taken that semitone clash out of it, okay? But if you want to harmonize to a fourth, count up your 5 semitones, you're golden, okay? So let's move on to the next one, which is a fifth, okay? Now exactly the same kind of premise, rather than the fourth, which was 5 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to move up a fifth, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 semitones away, which you should definitely know by now, okay? So you can just do that. You can harmonize to a fifth by taking every note and moving it 7 semitones away. So again, if our melody went, our harmony part would go, okay? And that sounds lovely, okay? Let's just hear it with my chord as well. We've got no clashes going on with our major chord here because it's the root and the fifth on that chord. That's totally fine. And that works every single time. Doesn't matter whether it's a major chord or a minor chord or anything. As long as it's a major or minor chord, it will work. Diminished chords, you have to make some adjustments, but I'm not going to go into that now, okay? So let's just hear this in a bit more kind of context. So here is Freddie Mercury singing, don't stop me now, but harmonize to a fifth.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
Okay, and that sounds super cool, okay? So fourths and fifths are quite easy. It's the same every time. 5 semitones for a fourth, 7 semitones for a fifth, okay? Now let's look at this third. Now, hopefully, you can kind of see where I'm going with the whole third thing. If we're making a chord up, let's say our first, let's do this on the sample. Let's say our first note is there, and we want to put the fifth in. If we're doing that over a major chord, we can put that third in and we get, and that works totally fine. We can just harmonize that 4 semitones up, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and that gives us a major third harmony. So let's put that in here and here, see how that kind of sounds. Root third, fifth, and our piano. Oh, shut up, Freddie. So let's hear that. That's super cool. That's absolutely fine, as long as we are playing a major chord in our piano, okay? Or our chord sequence. Where this gets a little bit more tricky is you have both major thirds and minor thirds, and you have to make sure you use the correct one in your harmony part, okay? So to demonstrate this, I've got these two chords going on here. Let's just pull this up. So I've got a C major chord followed by a D minor chord. You can see it there, okay? In my melody, in my harmony part, I've taken my, let's get rid of this piano for a second. I've taken my root third and fifth. Can I show you all three of these together? Let's see how good Logic is. No. I take my root third and fifth here, which sound like that. And here, I've pitch shifted it again. So my first note is a D. My third is an F sharp because I've taken my D. I've gone D, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I've gone up to my third here, and then I've got my fifth, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 there, okay? Let's just hear it and then I'll explain why it doesn't work. Let's just listen to that second chord again, and you should hopefully hear the clash, but just so you hear it again. Okay? The reason being is my melody, because I counted up 4 semitones, just like I said, well, my harmony part is playing an F sharp. But in my chord, because this is a minor chord, that F is an F natural. So we're getting this clash. That note there, followed by that note in the melody. And it sounds pretty nasty. So what I have to do is when I'm harmonizing to a third, I have to make sure I'm using the correct third. Now the easiest way of doing this is just making sure that it's in my scale. Okay, so I can take that F. I know I'm in the key of C major because I've got C major and D minor. I look at that, I see an F sharp. I go, right, well it can't be an F sharp because it's not in my key. So I just pull that down to it, an F. And now that works totally fine. If I bring my melody back in, we get this. And everything works again, okay? So the best thing I can suggest is move, if you're doing this in Logic, move it all up 4 semitones and then drop those ones that don't fit on the key down 1. If you're doing this in a practice room or actually using your voice, you'll know that that doesn't work. It'll just feel very unnatural to be able to kind of do that, okay? So there's one more harmony I'm going to show you, okay, which is a 6th. I've kept that to the end because it kind of suffers from the same thing as the third and the fact you have 2 options. Oh, before I go any further, let's hear Freddie harmonize to a third, just so you can hear what happens when that's done correctly, okay? So here it is to a third.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
So because in that, when I pitch shifted that, I had to go in and manually adjust it to the correct type of third, be it a major third or a minor third, okay? So let's look at a 6th just to complete the kind of set. Now the only difference between this one and all the others is the 3rd, 4th and 5th I've been placing above my melody line, okay? So my melody's here, there's my 3rd, there's my 5th. With the 6th, we actually go underneath. So again, if I bring my keyboard up, if I'm playing a C, ooh, it's all soloed. My 6th is, so let's just find the 6th note of the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There it is. Na, na. Yep. Taking that A, and I'm moving it down here. Okay, so you're actually harmonizing underneath your main line. Okay. You can do that by counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 semitones if you're that way inclined, or you can just count down 1, 2, 3 semitones and you get the same thing. So I'm a lazy guy, I would count down the 3 rather than up the 9, but you take your pick. Okay. Again, you do have to make sure, so a major 6th is going to be 3 semitones, a minor 6th is going to be 4 semitones down. Okay, you will again hear this while you're doing stuff, but just so you can kind of hear what I mean, here is my root and my 6th, and I have adjusted that 2nd chord as well. So you have this. So again, quite clashy with the chord going on, but still works as a kind of harmony thing. Let's take the piano so you can hear it just on its own. Okay. So again, you have to make the adjustments in the same way you did with the 3rd, but it's a nice harmony that you can use, okay? Let's just hear Freddie harmonizing to a 6th so you can hear what's going on.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
So the advantage with the 6th is it keeps the main line on the top. With your 3rds and your 5ths, you sometimes find that your main line gets a little bit lost because the ear is naturally drawn to what we call the top line, the very highest melodic kind of thing. So again, it's just something to bear in mind. So those are our 4 types of harmony: 3rds, 4ths, 5ths and 6ths. You can use them as you kind of like. There are some things that I would suggest doing that you might want to do, you might not, but this is my kind of suggestion, because you don't just have to do one at a time. It doesn't just have to be a 3rd
Tonight.
or a 4th or a 5th or a 6th. You can layer these up. Now if you do all of them, this is what that sounds like.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time.
there's just too much going on there. You might think that sounds amazing. To me, it sounds like a big cluttered mess. So I would suggest only having two or at the most three of those at any one time, okay? First things first, your root, third, and fifth always sound sweet together because they make up a chord.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time. I feel alive.
Because they're making up chords with every single note, that sounds fantastic. I would avoid having the fourth and the third in at the same time, but you could have the root, fourth, and fifth.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time.
There's kind of spooky vibe to it. Again, I would avoid having fifth and sixth together, but root, fourth, and sixth.
Tonight I'm gonna have myself a real good time.
Has a kind of richness to it because again we're spreading those melody lines out. Okay, I hope all that makes sense. Okay, there's two schools of doing this. If you're in Logic and you're making melodic lines using the piano roll, counting up the semitones is going to be the easiest way of doing it. If you're trying to do this live, then it is a little bit kind of trickier. A few things that I do, if I hear this, if the melody's doing this note here, let's just bring that in, okay, and the melody's there, I will just arpeggiate a chord in my head and go, okay, there's my first note, la, or la 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 la, there's my fifth, okay. That takes a bit of practice, and sometimes you'll just hear a harmony and just go with that, okay? But practice this skill of being able to pick out the correct notes within a harmony, particularly the vocalists in the room. Being able to harmonize quickly is a really good skill for you to have. I hope all that makes sense. If it doesn't, send me a message and I'll try and answer your queries. But yeah, see how you get on. Thanks very much.